Hello, welcome to my channel Jules Art, and today I'm gonna do a how to draw video. Get my handy sketchbook out. So we're going to learn to draw Stitch. 1. Get a pencil. 2. Get an eraser. Okay, found a pencil. You can get a reference photo before you start. That's also really helpful. Start off with his nose. If you can see this little mark for his nose. And then I'm just gonna do that. Okay, so we've got his nose. I'm gonna go up for his wrinkles because he's got little wrinkles here because his nose is kind of scrunched up. So to give that effect, we're just gonna kind of do that. 2 kind of half oval shapes. Then we're gonna go up for his head. And remember, these are not your final lines, so if you mess up, it's fine. And you know, you've always got your eraser. I've got a little owl one. Okay, so we're gonna come around to finish off his head. So we're gonna bring this around, and I'm gonna leave an open space here for his ears, just to make it a little easier for me later on. So zoom out to show you guys kind of how it's looking so far. So now I'm gonna do his chest here, and I'm gonna give him a little poof because in the reference picture I used, he's got a little fur here. Okay, and then I'm gonna come around like that. Next step will be his arm. So I'm gonna come around like this, and then come out again. This is kind of where his neck would be, and then bring out his back. So angle that and his back. So he's gonna kind of come off the page, which I'm okay with. But if you don't want it to do that on your drawing, just make it smaller. I made mine kind of big. Okay, and then his arm here. So I'm just gonna make a reference for his foot, which comes in from back here, just so I know how big it needs to be roughly. Then I'm gonna fix up his back a bit. Okay, so now I'm kind of making reference lines for his toes, is all I'm doing. And then I'm gonna make this come out a bit more. We'll get this foot, make a circle for that. And try to make these lines pretty light. I made it kind of dark. Makes it easier for you guys to see on the film. So now let's draw his ear. And I left the space open so it'd be easier for me to do it and do this part. And it's coming off the page, so obviously we're not going to see his whole ear, but that's alright. A lot of times what I'll do is if I go off the page, I'll kind of pretend like, okay, if I kept this line going, where would it end? So that I know, let's say it's something that would curl in, I'd want it to look right. But this doesn't come in, so I'm alright. Let's bring this up a bit more so his ear doesn't look so fat. Alright, now he does have pretty big ears though, so alrighty. So let's bring the rest of his head down to match up, and then kind of come through here to make sure it's where it should. And then up here he's got a little fur, kind of poofs out. Bring in his other ear. Alright, so now we've got the basic shape of him down. So let's kind of fix this up down here. Here's his back, it kind of sticks up a bit. And then his tail would be back here, of course. Kind of bring that up more. Okay, and then this comes inward before I come out to the foot, which now I've got this circle, so I can kind of follow the bottom of that. Come up for the toes. And then his paw kind of just has like a little circle. It kind of looks like a puppy paw, except more cartoonish. I left a little spot for his nail or claw or whatever you call it. Bring that in. Then we have the next toe. Here we go. And as the toes go on, they should get slightly smaller. So I made that one a bit big, so we'll make it a little smaller so it gives the effect that it's the distance and everything. And then we'll bring this leg up. And then this guy should have come over like this so you can see that he's sitting with his leg. Bring in this leg and then kind of come out for the toe again. Make room for the claw and then get that claw in there. And then now we've got this leg, so it's going to kind of come up, kind of like how this one looks. And then we're going to bring in this toe. Okay, and then kind of have a circle there. Alrighty, so now we've got the bottom half pretty much done. So for his eye, he actually has his eye, but then there's an outer rim around his eye. It kind of is like a patch around his eye. So we'll start out with the outer circle first before we actually get to his actual eye. So it starts about here, so it's fairly close to his nose. So let's make a little line here. Okay, so then it kind of sections off, and then we'll come around, and it goes almost to his jaw here, or his mouth, and then it comes up. And then the top will almost come towards his nose, and then it will come out. And it's not a perfect circle. It's kind of a weird oval shape. So just kind of make some reference lines. Don't make it too bold lines yet. We want some pretty light lines. My lines look kind of bold, and that's just for the sake of this video. So you guys can kind of see, but they're still pretty light, erasable lines. Let's go move on to his eye. So his eye comes in pretty far on the left side of the patch, and then it just kind of moves upward. Now we've got his basic shape down, and right here in his eye, I want to just make a little reference circle to show that's where the glare is going to be. So it's just going to be white there, just so I remember. Let's bring this up a tad more. And then here, there's going to be just some darker lines, which is in the reference picture. We've got our basic sketch of Stitch done. So at this point, you can kind of go on how you want to. So sometimes you would take a kneaded eraser and then kind of just do this to lift up some of that extra lead mark. And if you would want to, since now you've got your basic lines down, you could take your pencil and just darken up those lines, refine them a bit more. I feel like mine's pretty good now. I like it. I don't think I need to darken up any lines, so I'm just going to go ahead and take my kneaded eraser and just go over this whole sketch to lift up that extra lead, so that when I color it and fine line it, there's not too much extra lead, but the potential of being smeared and messing it up. So I'm just kind of going over it, and if you don't have a kneaded eraser, no big deal. Just find an eraser and lightly just kind of go over your sketch. Either one would work fine, but I'm just gonna use this for now. At this point, you can kind of interpret it how you want. You can fine line it, you can just go ahead and use marker. Just kind of depends on how you're feeling. I'm gonna actually use fine liner for this piece. So let me get my fine liners. Here are my fine liners. So I have Artist Loft fine liners, and then the microns. The microns are more for a little bit higher up art, a little bit more expensive, and the Artist Loft is more for beginners. So let's start fine lining this. I found some cheap markers. This came in like I think this basic art set I got. And then here's some Crayola markers I got. I'm trying to make this video really basic and with supplies you would have at home. So I thought we could use some basic supplies instead of getting my Copics out or something. Because if you're just learning how to draw, you're probably not going to have Copics lying around your house. So I finished my Stitch drawing. It's not perfect by any means, and it's also not quite the right colors for him. And that's because I was just challenging myself to use art supplies I normally wouldn't. And, you know, this was a bit dark too, but I still think it turned out nice. I will say I did cheat a bit, because this tip was just so thin, it was going to take forever to color, and it was becoming really streaky. So I went ahead and used just this cheap Artist Loft alcohol marker, which I didn't realize was dried up and the ink's almost out. So it was still streaky, but that's okay. It was a good challenge just to use art supplies I wouldn't always use. Yeah. And also just to help you guys out, to show you that you can still make good art with cheap art supplies, and to kind of teach you guys how to, step by step, how to draw Stitch. So I hope you guys had fun on my channel today, and yeah. So, this is how to draw Stitch, and use art supplies that you would have lying around your house. Jewels are out.